Chapter 21. The bus droned on in the dark. All at once it came out into another big room, full of light and noise. They had arrived at South Station. People rushed here and there, never looking at each other. A sign with an arrow pointing read, "Red Line."
"Keep up, Nicholas. We want to make our connection,"
Edward said, heading for the stairs. Nicholas caught up with him as a gray train screeched to a halt. People moved on to the train, Nicholas and Edward among them. Everyone lurched backward as the train took off.
"Park Street is next. Change there for the Green Line,"
Nicholas heard a voice from a speaker say after a few minutes.
"This is it, Nicholas. This is our stop,"
Edward said. They hurried around a corner, climbed some stairs, and finally emerged into the sunshine. The view was as strange to Nicholas as the cold, empty ocean. Tall buildings rose up all around them. Cars and taxis, buses and bicycles crowded the streets. People of all shapes and sizes hurried this way and that. Someone was selling hot peanuts from a cart.
"You look lost, my young friend."
A red squirrel stood in front of Nicholas.
"I've seen that look before," the squirrel said. "You're from out of town, aren't you?"
"Yes, my friend and I are traveling together." Nicholas pointed at Edward, who was over at the peanut cart sniffing around.
"Well, you've got to be careful in the big city," the squirrel said. "I'll help you find your way around. This park is the Boston Common. I live across the river in Cambridge. I teach young squirrels the history of the city. We come to Boston all the time."
A group of young girls, all dressed alike, trooped by. The squirrel watched the group for a few minutes.
"What's your name?"
"Nicholas. What's yours?"
"Oliver. Wait here, Nicholas. I'll be right back."
With that, the squirrel hopped off toward the peanut cart. The group of girls had Edward surrounded. "Oh, he is so cute! Come here, little chipmunk! Do you want a peanut? Come here! I won't hurt you!" The girls lured Edward one way and then another. Oliver leaped into a maple tree and trilled his best squirrel call. "Oh, look at the little red squirrel! Come here, little red squirrel! Oh, I want to take him home," a girl said as the group ran over to the tree. Edward made a dash for it. The squirrel leaped from tree to tree, leading the girls down the path away from Edward. Oliver made his way back after losing the girls in the public garden. "That was most kind of you," Edward said. "However, I was about to make a break when you arrived."
"Don't mention it," Oliver said. "Come with me. Let me show you the city."
All the trees were ablaze with the colors of fall. A golden dome atop a building on a hill shone through the branches.
"That building is the state capitol. It was built right after the American Revolution. Come on, let me show you the public garden."
He crossed a street when the traffic stopped at a red light.
"I like to come to the garden in the spring when all the flowers are in bloom," Oliver told them.
Nicholas stopped. "Edward!" Nicholas shouted. "Take a look at that swan! It's the biggest bird I've ever seen!"
"That is a swan boat," Oliver said. "It's not a real swan. The plastic swan hides some pedals a person uses to move the boat through the water. Would you like to go for a boat ride? It is very peaceful floating along under the willow trees." "I've had my fill of boats," Edward said. "Besides, we need to keep traveling south."
"Oliver, we're headed for West Tisbury," Nicholas said, explaining his journey to the red squirrel.
"I know just what you need to do. We need to get to the train station."
"Train station? We just came up from the subway," Nicholas said, following Oliver out of the park.
"Not that train. You'll see when we get there. It's on the other side of the city. I bet you haven't eaten yet today. Am I right?"
"I didn't even get a peanut before those girls took after me," Edward said.
"Well, follow me," Oliver said. "I know somewhere we can get all the food we want, and it's on our way to the train."
Edward was more than happy to follow. Nicholas sighed. It seemed to him that his journey would never end. He had no choice now but to follow the red squirrel and hope he would guide them out of the city.